So, B'siyata D'Shmaya, we are going to be starting something brand new over here, especially for the new Olam. But even for the Olam that were here last month, this is also a new limud over here. It's Tanya. We're learning Tanya from the Heilige Tanya. But we're going to be concentrating during Elul on what he calls a very important chelik of Tanya, which is Iggeres HaTeshuva. Iggeres HaTeshuva actually was only added afterwards. I'll speak about that in a minute. But of course, this is the perfect time to learn Iggeres HaTeshuva for a bunch of different reasons. One of them, of course, is it's Elul. It's, before Rosh Hashanah, before Sesame Tshuva. And I was thinking that really we should continue what we started already last year, which we, Be'ez Hashem, do have to do. But we very much also have to try to get into the inyan of Iggeres HaTeshuva, because it's such a beautiful chelik of Tanya that is so recommended. In fact, many even say that you should learn the Iggeres HaTeshuva before you learn the regular halakim of Tanya. They call it Tanya Cotton as well, which is very, very important. So before we get into that, for the new Olam that just joined us, I'd just like to give you mamish a couple of minutes of a hagdoma of who was the Balatanya. Obviously, we're not going to spend too long on it, but today we'll do a little bit of a hagdoma just to understand whose Torah are we reading, what sefer is this, what are we dealing with over here. So the Balatanya, Reb Shneur Zalman of Liadi, was a tremendous tzaddik. Of course, he founded the Chabad movement. Chabad famously stands for Chochma, Bina, Vodas, which is a very big chelik of what he teaches, which is the Chochma, which is the wisdom, and then you have everything after that, which you try to understand. Come inside. We have space. You can bring a chair if you want, whatever. Okay, good. So Chochma Bina V'das is what the Balatanya, the Heilige Balatanya, understood that he wanted to set up, which is very much kafi his approach, which is Moyach Sholet Al Halev, which basically means the ability that your brain, your intellectual powers, have the ability to overpower what goes on in your emotions, which is of course represented by your heart. So very much a lot of what he discusses here is what we always call Chabad, which is Chochma Bina V'das, which is really the intellectual powers that you have of your deep understanding that go to a very deep level, and you try to utilize them to sometimes overpower the emotions, which sometimes get very, very hard to overpower. But if you learn what your body can do and what your intellect can also manage, it's an amazing, amazing thing. Reb Shneur Zalman, the Heilige Balatanya, was a direct descendant of the Maharil Prague. Just to give you some idea of it was unbelievable tzaddikim that he learned primarily by the Maggid of Mezrich. He was a big Talmud. Many of the sources that he quotes generally come from his Rebbe, the Maggid. Many of them come from the Zohar Kodesh. Many of them also come from, of course, the Maharil and also the Shloah Kodesh. So that's much of where the Tanya's teachings generally come from. Those of you that have learned the beginning of Tanya, Sefer Shel Beinanim, so what he writes there in the Hakdama is, and this L'chayva would also apply to this as well, what we're learning now, is that he wrote the Sefer as a replacement for himself, meaning people used to come to him all the time and ask him eitzes and how to live life and which direction to go, and it got too much for him. So he wrote a Sefer to be able to, so to speak, quote unquote, replace the Heilige Balatanya, and he writes in the Hakdama, any question to any answer to any question is in this sefer. So we're dealing with something very, very deep, something very practical, something very lemaisa, something very, very important. So that is a little bit of an idea of the Balatanya. He was born in 1745. He died in 1812, and he wrote many, many svarim, as we said before. This specifically, the Iggeres HaTeshuva, what we're learning now, actually came out during the Balatanya's lifetime, and they only afterwards added it to the Sefer. Now we have already 5 chalakim in the regular Likutei Moharan Tanya, but like I said, there are many that have 3. This is the third one, what it's called Likutei Moharan Chelik Shlishi, Hanukkah B'Shem Iggeres HaTeshuva. Right? Now it's important to understand exactly what's going on over here, why he wrote it specifically. By the way, the Lubavitcher Rebbe used to tell people when they asked him, I would like to learn Tanya, how should I go about doing so? He would always tell people, start with the Iggeres HaTeshuva. And not only that, he made a whole campaign in his lifetime. They reprinted it and they told everyone to learn it and how to learn it. He was very into to learn this chilek, what we're learning now during this month. Iggeres HaTeshuva was something that was very, very important to him. And it's interesting, why is it called Iggeres HaTeshuva? Iggeres means a letter. Why is it called Iggeres? Why is it not Maima HaTeshuva? The speakings, the sayings, the collections. What's Iggeres? Iggeres is a letter. What's the idea of a letter dafka to be called? We call it Shar HaTeshuva, the gate of Teshuva. Why dafka Iggeres HaTeshuva? So they say that a letter is generally what you do when you send to someone who lives far away. When you want to send someone a letter, you send them a letter and they live far away, you give them a letter. The same thing is also to someone that's far away, metaphorically, in Iggeres, meaning he's far away from his connection. So this letter, so to speak, is being sent to him that he has the ability to come back. And that's a very, very important chilek, and that's going to be our hakdama to what this is over here. We know that tshuva is not the way necessarily ArtScroll maybe translates it, which is repentance, which it can also mean. But tshuva, as I'm sure you'll hear many, many times, comes from the root of the word, which is shav. Shin base, shav means to return. Return means not to go to. Return means you were there, you left, and now you're going back. That's what tshuva really means. So in essence, the word of tshuva, which we're discussing, which we don't have to wait until Aseres Yemei Tshuva to discuss. This is this man mamish now, El at the time of tshuva. We're meant to be doing tshuva, meaning we're meant to be returning to the Rabbeinu Shalom. Meaning we're meant to be returning to our relationship to the Rabbeinu Shalom. This sefer specifically was written for that reason. In Chassidus, many of the Chassidish Sfarim are full of this idea that tshuva is an experience of reconnection. It's something that you were connected to, for whatever reason you got disconnected. More specifically, the averas that you committed caused you to drift away. That caused the separation. That causes the concealment. And Mimela comes tshuva to re-put that together again to restore what was. We also know that averas cause a negative energy. Negative forces attach themselves to someone that does averas. Tshuva has the ability to wash those negative forces away. The more disconnected you are, the more tshuva that you need. Now, I'll just end the Hakdama of today's shir with one thing. The reason why the Tanya wrote the Iggeres HaTeshuva, and he writes this clearly, is for one reason only. It was going around at the time that people were saying it's not shaykh to do tshuva. It's too hard. It's too difficult. We can't do tshuva. Maybe whatever it is, they were learning the Rambam, which is one of the great Rishonim, who tell us the steps of doing tshuva, of how to do it. It was too difficult for them. He talks a lot about it in the first few parakim. We'll see in a minute, Be'ez Hashem, tomorrow. We'll go into the first parak. You'll see what I mean. He talks a lot about the idea of fasting. And the reason he does that is because he wants to explain to you that fasting is not really something that is required for tshuva. We'll see when it comes into place. But it went around that in order to do tshuva, I need to fast for 40 days and roll around in the snow and go and break the ice and dip into the mikveh. And people were doing those things. And because of that, for the Hamoin for the regular people, it became, okay, well, forget it, I can't do tshuva. There's no way that I can return. The Tanya over here is telling us absolutely not. And again, anyone that's learned the first chelek, right, the Sefer Shel Beinim, Ki Korov Elecha, it's close to you, it's manageable, it's attainable. This Sefer has a similar theme in that way, that is going to show how practical, how easy it is for every single one of us to reach real tshuva. So Baruch Hashem, we're doing this now here during Elul Be'ezus Hashem. That's the Hakdama, that's the introduction. Be'ezus Hashem, tomorrow at 6 o'clock, Perek Aleph. Join us, have an amazing day.